Hey, online peoples, how are you? I'm Cecile, and for now, I'm the coordinator of the Monty Center. At NATE, we honor and acknowledge that the land on which we learn, work, and live is Treaty 6 territory. This place is a traditional homeland for the First Nation and Métis peoples, and today we are all part of this treaty land. Traditional name for this place is the Miskouchi-Waskigan, which we also call the city of Edmonton. So happy to have you join us today. We have Jackie with us from the city of Edmonton, who, gosh, I think I've worked with for 4 years, and really important stuff, and just going to go through a lot of things that you need to know if you're going to have a business in the city of Edmonton. And then we're going to have time for questions. Do you want them to wait to the end for questions or pop in with them anytime?
They can jump right in anytime. Yeah, let's
Okay, so those online, put them in the chat and I'll make sure they get addressed. And over to Jackie.
Hey, thanks so much, Cecile. I'm so happy to be here today. Thanks for having me. I work on a team at the City of Edmonton called the Business Friendly Team. We love meeting entrepreneurs and new business owners. And partly what I'm going to do today is walk you through what our supports and services look like, so you know when to reach out to us and how we can help you. And then I'm also going to do a bit of a deep dive into small business regulations, like things like zoning, building permits, stuff like that. And I'll just give you a high-level overview of when you might need those things and how it can factor into your business planning. So without further ado, I've got my contact info on here. I will share the slides with Cecile so she can share them out.
Sorry, that was me.
No worries. Yeah, and as she mentioned, just feel free to pop in with your questions. I can't see like the online folks. So hopefully you can see me and hear me okay, and you'll just jump in when you need clarification or have any questions. So as I mentioned, I'm from the Business Friendly Edmonton team. We provide a number of supports and services for businesses locating in Edmonton. I think the most important one to share with you today is the one-on-one business support. This is our customized service for any entrepreneur, any small business owner getting started in the city of Edmonton. We're kind of your first place that you should reach out to at the city. We can help you navigate and pathfind through the whole city of Edmonton. There's a lot of different areas and departments that you might need to get in touch with. We can get you in connection with the right folks. So I'm going to share a little bit about the journey to opening, but more so from a city of Edmonton perspective. So what kinds of touch points you might have with the city as you're opening your very first business. And I'm kind of excited for folks to share a few of their business ideas with me, and we can do a little bit of like live troubleshooting of, you know, who you might need to talk to and what types of permits and licenses you might need. So let's just start with a little bit of research and planning. And this is where I feel like the NATE Monty Center really shines. This is where we shine less so at the city. This is kind of a little out of our wheelhouse. We do permits and licenses and regulations. And when it comes to actual business planning, I feel like that information will really factor into your business plan, but it's not really our, I guess, our key area of knowledge. So these are some of the things that we might kind of ask you about when you first contact our one-on-one service to see where you're at in the planning process and how far along you've come in this journey already. Can anyone share with me kind of where they're at in their business planning? Is anyone here like already really ready to launch and they've got everything already set up? Or is it still in the ideation phase? How does it work?
I think I just need funding at this point. That's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, very cool.
I'm still kind of, you're beyond ideation, but you're sort of pivoting back a bit, but she's still got a little bit more work to do. I do, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, very cool. So these are some of the questions like financing, you know, how you're going to structure your business. These are some of the things I'm sure you're all thinking about right now. And then hopefully some of this information about city regulations will help you with that planning.
Okay, Rotham's online and he said he's ready to go.
Yeah, I love that. Does anybody want to share their business idea that's ready to go? What are you going to launch?
Rotham, do you want to share what you're launching? A development firm.
Oh, so cool. Okay, love that. So let's see. So what I shared today, let's see if this helps as you launch your development firm. That is a very cool idea. So really the next step, so you've started ideating or you're brainstorming, you've got your business ideas. You can contact the one-on-one support team at any time during this process because we're going to talk you through a few different things about, you know, what's permitted and what's not permitted at certain locations and how the regulations factor into choosing the location for your business. You can contact us through our website. We have like an online form you can fill out, share a bit about your business idea, and we'll send the first available liaison to reach out to you. And our email address is in the presentation as well, so you can reach out directly that way. So a little bit about how the city thinks about types of businesses, and this is from the regulatory perspective, but we kind of classify businesses. You're either going to be home-based, so you're running from your home location. You're going to be commercial-based, so you're going to lease a space. This could be industrial or commercial. Think about like maybe you're leasing a warehouse space, or maybe you're leasing like a storefront, like a bakery. But we think about a commercial business location as like where you do not live. Whereas we think of home-based business as like you also live there and run your business from your residence. This could be an apartment, it could be a single detached home, but it's basically like you're living there as the business operator, or you're based out of town. And so, so this is a good caveat for everything I'm sharing today is really about City of Edmonton specific information. So if you're planning to have your primary locations based out of Sherwood Park or St. Albert, you would probably need to contact that municipality to talk through their process. It might be similar, might be different. Yes, question.
Okay, so I reside from Saskatchewan,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm trying to develop an app that will run primarily in it.
Got it. Okay. I think this would be a classic example of when you could reach out to the one-on-one support. We would check with business licensing. My best understanding of these like online mobile type businesses is you get licensed in your home municipality. So you might get licensed as a home-based business, but you're going to run your app all over the world. Let's say Edmonton and then everywhere. You wouldn't need to get another license in every other jurisdiction. You would just get like your primary operations location. Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, totally. Love mobile. So good. Okay. So from the City of Edmonton's perspective, we think about businesses like this. Great question about the based out of town. A scenario where you would be based out of town, but you would need the City of Edmonton business license is often general contractors, like cleaning services. It's where you're maybe have your business location in another municipality, but all of your operations are throughout Edmonton and you're like physically operating the business in the City of Edmonton, then you would need that non-resident business license.
What about if you were like a food truck, but your home base was Leduc?
Yes. So I believe you would be, I think if you're, this is a good one. Let's start, okay, so food truck in Edmonton, you would likely be home-based and then you need vending permits to like vend as your food truck around the city. So if you had your business license in Leduc, but you wanted vending permits in the City of Edmonton, you'd probably have to get that based out of town business license and then get your vending permits around town.
Okay.
But that would be a very good one to contact our one-on-one support. So we could just like check with all the relevant areas and make sure that we had it right. And this is another thing our one-on-one support tries to do is like fit your business into the layers of regulation. So there's city regulation. So we do things like zoning. So we regulate like land use approvals through development permits. We do the built form of the building. So like I said, if you are leasing that commercial space, let's say you're leasing a warehouse, you might need a building permit for your renovations to get your business set up at that location. We also do sign permits. Believe it or not, if you see a business and they have a sign on the front of their business, that sign has its very own permit that approved that sign there. And part of the regulation behind that is to make sure no one puts up a sign to block your sign. So it's kind of like every sign gets its own permit to say where it's supposed to go, where it's allowed to go, what it's supposed to look like, and limit that kind of like visual clutter or like redundancy or duplication of signage. So all this to say, that's the things the city focuses on. Some business types, as you might know, have like another layer of regulation through the province. And some really common examples we work with, we get a lot of childcare businesses. The city might approve the land use or might approve a building permit for renovating out a daycare, but ultimately it's the province that does the licensing, the childcare licensing. So there's some cases where you don't need a City of Edmonton business license, but you're going to get a license through the province, or you are licensed through the province instead. And weirdly enough, in the regulatory world, we do get a couple of businesses once in a while who also have a federal regulation. And a classic example for this one is River Valley businesses. So if you're operating a business that's actually like using a waterway, this may need a federal approval as well. as a city approval. So we've had a couple of river floats and businesses like that that end up needing like beyond the city of Edmonton approvals. So this is where our team, the 101 team, would kind of link you into the other necessary folks. Any questions on that? Is anyone planning to do something like a bar or restaurant serving alcohol that might need HLC, cannabis stores?
Anybody online?
Anybody doing food service? And we're gonna make some pickles at home and sell them at the farmer's market?
Well, that's another food service, isn't it?
Mhm. So, yeah, so food and personal services, we always refer to Alberta Health Services as well, because they might have an additional steps or checks that you might need to do. Okay, so skipping ahead then. So if you kind of know where you want to operate, I think Cecile gave a great example of the mobile business, but you've talked to the 101 team, you've kind of done your checks like, okay, I can operate here or there. This is what I'm thinking. You go to apply for your business license, and this is where the home-based commercial or based out of town comes into play, because I'm going to show you our business license application page. When you go to apply for your City of Edmonton business license, you have to pick commercial, home-based, based out of town. So if you don't know what you are or what you should pick here, this is where the 101 team can help talk you through like what you're doing, where you're doing it, and how you pick that. Put in your address, you fill in some information, and this is what kind of kickstarts that regulatory check process at the city. So once you have the location checked for your business, this is where we're going to take a look at the zoning, take a look at the safety codes information for that location and see if there's any additional permits you need. However, you don't have to wait until you apply for your business license to find out what kind of permits you need, because you can also call our 101 support, and we're going to kind of put all that pieces together and build that roadmap for you.
So you can add it to your budget.
Yeah. Yeah, very good point. And yeah, I think so I'm starting with business licensing, because this is the like most common pathway into the city for folks. They apply for their business license, they kind of get moved through this regulatory process. But you can contact 101 support and we'll build that out for you in advance of your application. And I think once I get into the zoning information, you'll see why it's pretty good to check with us first, just to make sure that you've got a good plan in place and you know how long it's going to take to get permits. When you apply for your business license, city will give you a nice category. They might give you more than one category depending what you're doing. But here's common ones we get: restaurant or food service, retail sales, food processing, general business. We get a couple of like different kinds, but you might get multiple categories on your license. They just charge one fee. So this is a good place to mention that a business license fee is an annual fee, or like biannual, you can purchase 2 years in advance for a better price. Most businesses are tier 3, like most business license fees fall into that tier 3 category. But again, this is where our 101 support can talk to you about your business. Okay, you're doing a doggy daycare. So then trying to figure out what is your business license category. Okay, that's animal breeding and boarding or whatever it was. And then what tier is that? And then what's the fee? And then you can factor that into your business planning and your budget. So that kind of thing. Before the business license is issued, every business license application gets sent to our zoning team. And this is where our 101 team can also help you figure out if the location has the approved land use for your type of business. I'm going to talk a little bit about the residential-based businesses for home-based, and then I'll talk a bit about commercial and how they're a little bit different. Home-based businesses are approved in every residential zone in the city. So if the place where you live is a residential zone, you can do a home-based business there.
What if the lease says it can?
Okay, so that wouldn't be a city restriction. That would be a landlord restriction, and that does happen. Some condo associations or condo boards have rules that you can't operate a business at that property. But that's not a city thing, and we would actually never check that. We wouldn't really have like a way to check that.
And
So-
the city couldn't tell the landlord, and the landlord wouldn't tell the city, so you just don't care what the landlord says and you do it anyway? That's the boat I'm in. That's what I'm thinking. Like, why not?
Or you use your mom's address, right?
Yeah.
And you can still be doing work from home, but your business is registered to a different address.
We have, there is a question on our home-based business application form that says, do you have the approval of the property owner to operate the business? We don't ask for any proof or verification. You just have to feel comfortable to check that box. So we can talk offline a little bit about other scenarios we've seen, but it has happened before. Like the city doesn't have a way to check that with the condo board. So we would technically, if someone applies for a business license and it's permitted in the zone and we issue, the zoning checks out, we issue the business license, the person pays their business license fee. There wouldn't really be any way for us to know that the condo wouldn't approve that business. So that's kind of up to the business owner to do that research on the other side. So home-based businesses, there's two ways those can be approved. Minor home-based business, think of this as an invisible business. I actually really love your app example. That's phenomenal. No one would know you're doing that. Like your neighbors wouldn't know. So this is the type of business where the city goes, okay, that's a minor home-based business. No need to tell the neighbors, no problem. We'll just move on to issue the business license. And you don't pay any fee for a development permit, or there's no real development approval needed for that. There's another type of business you can run from your home in the city of Edmonton called a major home-based business. This is where it's not an invisible business. This is a very vibrant and lovely thing to have in your neighborhood, where your neighbor might be baking bread and selling that. They might have people coming to their home every day to purchase the bread. So that would be a major home-based business. This does need a development approval called a home occupation permit. And neighbors get a notification just saying, hey, your neighbor's baking bread. They're going to have 5 people coming every day to pick up the bread. The city sets a cap. It can't be like a bakery where you're getting like these drop-in visits or like foot traffic. It's got to be like scheduled appointments to pick up your orders or like cake decorating or something like this.
For hair salon?
Hair salons, very common and popular. All the personal services are common. Eyelashes, nails. So these ones you can have up to 5 people a day. It would be approved as a major home-based business, but again, there's a fee because we have to issue a development permit and circulate that to the neighbors. So the major home-based business does cost an additional fee. I think it's $324 for that one-time permit, and that's part of the review fee. So our city would approve it and then also pass it out to the neighbors. They would have a month to weigh in and see if they wanted to appeal that permit. Mostly neighbors are like, ooh, this is exciting. There's a business opening up near me. And these are mostly well loved by the neighbors, and that notification that we send out is kind of free advertising for your business, but we are obligated to do that. Yeah, they can appeal. They would have to have a reason. They would have to have a reason under the zoning bylaw why they felt the city made an error issuing the permit. So they definitely can appeal. It's not common, but it could happen. So then it would go to the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board. Basically, that's an outside party beyond the city. The city would say, we approve this permit, this is why. The neighbors would make their case. We don't think the city should have approved the permit, this is why. And then that appeal board has to.
It's whether it's there or not.
Yes, and I might be oversimplifying that process. I have not attended one of these. Yeah, totally. And it can happen. It's more common with commercial, where the city would approve a commercial location and it would get appealed by residents for one reason or another. And then ultimately that Subdivision and Development Appeal Board makes the decision. And whatever they decide, we go with. So, which is a very good point, actually, because when we're saying that we can approve the business, like for a major home-based business, it's a very good caveat because we can approve it, but there is this chance that you might not be able to get the approval there if someone did appeal it, for sure. I think that's a very good flag. And it happens more often with commercial locations, and that's why I'm going to share a little bit about zoning on commercial locations, because I feel like those locations, it's not like you live there already. You're going to sign another lease. You're going to be locking in another business expense. So it's really, really good to talk about zoning and get the zoning approval as you're like going through that leasing process to make sure you're covered. I don't know if this is going to link to the web. I don't actually even think.
Let's try.
Let's try it. Yes.
It did work. Will folks see this?
This is a very cool tool called Slim Maps. And you can look up any address in the city and see what the zoning is. So remember how I said that every residential zone allows for home-based businesses? You could look up your house here. Find the zoning. It would list minor home-based business as an approved use, major home-based business as a discretionary use. And I had an address I was going to test here. This one's pretty close to my house, 5858 111th Street. And this is just going to give you an example of a commercial zone and kind of how to take a look at it. So it says, what you can see here is it gives you some general information about this piece of property. So it gives it, like it shows you in red there, what it is. Legal description, the neighborhood, the ward, what's the closest community league. And then there's this little piece down there that says the current zone. So it says shopping center zone. And I'm just gonna click on that. And that's gonna link us right into the City of Edmonton zoning bylaw. That's gonna list everything you could do at that property as a approved use or things that would be a discretionary use where you would need to get a development permit.
So this slim map, is it linked from the City of Edmonton's website?
You can just Google it. I don't know if it's on the City of Edmonton website. It's
Okay.
linked in my presentation, but it is a free tool that anyone can use.
Okay.
It's pretty neat. It's good as like just some general research when you're starting to look at properties if you do want to open a storefront or that commercial location. And it's good to use this in conjunction with our one-on-one support team. So you can say, okay, I've looked at these properties, I have these ones, it's saying it's a permitted use. Can you tell me more about that? Like, am I going to need a development permit? How long is that going to take?
Okay. That was a question.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes, this is, it's probably is linked somewhere on our website, but
You can just Google slim.
Google Slim Maps, that's gonna be much quicker way to get there. Yeah, so I think that this property, they do have a hair salon, so I'm gonna see what would that be. Personal service shops, so there you go, and then it gives you a little description of what that is. So I know there's a hair salon there because I've been there before, and so they obviously got approved to operate their hair salon in that zone, and it would have been called a personal service shop. So that is zoning, and that's what we use at the city to determine if a business can operate in a certain location. Hi, welcome, come on in. And this, hi, come on in. This is the way that the city prevents businesses from operating close to neighborhoods that are more suited for industrial areas. The way that we would keep a nightclub out of a neighborhood, for example, is we've got residential zones, and then those can only do those home-based businesses I mentioned. Then we've got the commercial zones that can do a little bit more. We've got industrial zones that would be better for like manufacturing and some different types of uses. So this is how the city's trying to be like, okay, this type of business is good here, but we don't want to cause nuisance for the neighbors, and we would put it here. So that kind of.
How about a daycare?
So daycares have their own very unique set of rules, because a daycare can also has a list of businesses it can't be too close to.
Right.
Gas
Like a cactus
station.
shop.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I was gonna say, they can be next to liquor stores.
Yeah, they can
Yeah.
really close, like
Well,
side by
yeah.
side.
So I almost always, like, I don't drink, but like, if I'm looking at a daycare, I can find a liquor store within that, like,
I guess.
2 blocks. Like, I can literally see a liquor store from
So,
it.
so what kind of businesses can't be near a daycare?
There's some industrial,
Okay.
gas station. I was just trying to see if I could look up section 80. So there's a section of the zoning bylaw that specifically outlines what cannot be next to a daycare. If childcare services, I wonder if I can get it through here. Okay. If anyone is thinking of opening childcare, definitely contact our 101 team. And we can work through it, but basically your development officer will look at the address. They'll draw a radius around it of how far away it is, and then they'll be able to see what other businesses are in that proximity and whether or not it would be allowed at that area. But the gas station for sure, because I think of just the risk of,
Explosion.
yeah, things that go
There's a
boom.
gas station right next to my kids' daycare.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like,
I wonder if
but
it's,
it's a church, so like, it's like they rent out. Would that make a difference then?
I'm not
Maybe
sure.
doing it under the table.
It might be just far enough. I think it's 50 meters. I'd have to
It's
look.
50 meters.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because it's like, there's the SO and then there's the church, which is
There
like,
could be a parking lot in between.
There.
that's the in between, yeah.
Yeah, and it's 50.
Gotcha. Yeah. So this is something, and this is great context and information because when you're planning out your business, these are some of the considerations. Can it get approved? Is there other businesses that would impact it? Yes. So we can do the address check. This is what our one team will walk through with you. If you have like 5 different addresses you're looking at, we can analyze them all and see which ones make sense.
And Jackie, does it cost anybody anything to talk to somebody at the city?
Absolutely not. So our one-on-one service is completely free. We would check as many addresses as you want and work with you for as long as you want. We've had business owners taking up to 2 years to find the perfect location for where they want to open. And we've just kind of kept working with them along the way until they found that perfect spot. And then we work through all the permits with them as well, completely free of charge. I also just want to preface that it's also not like a documentation service. So you can call one-on-one support with your hypothetical scenarios about what kind of business you want to run where. And it's not like we're kind of making this list to call you again in a year and be like, oh, you had this hypothetical business idea. Did you open? Did you get a business license? Like, we're not doing any of that.
Is there a way to have somebody like consistent help you along?
Yes, it would be, you would be assigned a liaison and that would be your person. Yeah, you would stay with that person for life. We're stuck with that nurse. Then the other key consideration for your business location is safety codes. And this is the built form of the space. So if you think about the zone as like the land and where the land is within the city and what you can do on that land, then the safety codes is like, what kind of building is there? And is that building appropriate for what you'd like to do? And a few examples I can share from my time working with businesses through one-on-one support. Things like an automotive repair business, things like a daycare, commercial kitchen. You want to lease a space and you want it in a great location, but if you think about what you need in those spaces, it's going to be a bit beyond probably what you're leasing. If you lease out just an empty warehouse and you want it to be an automotive repair shop, you're going to need to add the ventilation. You're going to need to add some fire rating to the walls. There's some different things that you're going to need to add to that building to make it appropriate for the automotive repair or whatever other use you're doing. Commercial kitchen, the same thing. So if you think about this room right here and we're like, okay, well, let's turn it into a cafe. Well, now we need a food prep area. We need sinks, we need plumbing, we need gas, we need all of the things that we need to turn this into a great cooking facility. So that's the built form of the building, and that's all regulated provincially through the building code. And what the city does is we would review your planned construction and issue a building permit. So we would go, okay, this is what they're planning to renovate. This is how the building is currently. This is what they're planning to do there. And then we issue a building permit for that construction. So things that we're looking at the building design. So what is the building originally built at? What are you planning to use it for? Things like accessibility. Some older buildings were built without accessibility in mind. Can someone access the washroom easily if they have a mobility device like a walker or wheelchair or stroller, things like this? Is the building structurally sufficient for what you'd like to do? You know, could we put a swimming pool in this room? I don't know, but our safety codes team would assess your kind of renovation plans and say, okay, is this building structurally sound to like hold the weight of the swimming pool? There's also some new regulations built into the building code around energy efficiency. So they would want to review your renovation plans, make sure that they meet current energy efficiency standards. And of course, safety, fire exits. Can we all get out of the building in case of a fire? So this is where taking over a space, a new space, leasing a space, you might really want to contact the one-on-one team because we can work through all of this with a safety codes officer. And if it's going to be very expensive to make your new space fit your business model, it might not be the ideal space. It'd probably be cheaper to take over an existing restaurant versus, you know, lease a brand new space with no commercial kitchen and then do all of the upgrades yourself. And we can work that out with you and see about how long it's going to take and what you might need to do. And this might help you choose your location.
There's a question that I think might
Yeah.
have been from further back in your presentation. So it's, any considerations if the business outsources work abroad?
Oh, HR stuff is a bit out of our wheelhouse. Is that something you guys work through here?
We would connect them with somebody.
Okay.
And we would, it talks about HR, but that wouldn't affect their
licensing at all?
No, there's no, and a common question I get from folks too about business licensing is, you know, I'm waiting for my permanent resident status, or like, you know, I'm just visiting in Canada and I haven't gone through any formal process yet. There's no regulations about citizenship or status for business licensing, so you can start a business regardless. Yeah, as far as like, I think, but was that, and that question, was that about the business owner themselves, or that was about
That was
folks?
about if they're outsourcing.
Yeah, the labor,
Consideration for business outsources work
Yeah.
abroad, so
yeah,
that does not affect your license at all.
no, that wouldn't affect your license. And I don't think actually you could get a business license here for sure, and then, and then be performing operations anywhere in the world online. That's a very common model we see. Okay, so here's a few things. I think all I want to say about this slide is sometimes you might be leasing a space to open your new business and you don't want to renovate it, because this is a common thing I get from business owners. Like, I lease the space, I'm going to open my retail store tomorrow. How do I get my business license? And this is just where I want to flag that every business license application does get reviewed by our safety codes team for a commercial location. So even if you lease the space, you don't want to change it, you want to open tomorrow, sometimes the city might say, okay, we've looked at your floor plan. You don't have enough fire exits for what you're planning to do. You would need to add one. Then you do, like, there's some renovations you might not want to do, but the city will let you know you need to at least submit for a building permit, and that there's some things that you might have to do. So this is where the one-on-one team can be super helpful in troubleshooting that in advance of any like lease or business license application, so that you know exactly what permits you need and exactly what you'll need to do to make the space suitable.
So, would it be easier, for example, a business space that used to be a coffee shop and I'm opening a coffee shop, so
Yes.
less likely I need to renovate?
Less likely, for sure, because the previous use was already approved through a safety codes review at the city. I've seen a few examples where we have had to talk it out when it was like formerly a freshie, where they're like, it's like a salad bar, and then they're gonna do deep frying. So then it needs additional safety features and a bit more ventilation. So so it's likely not going to trigger a building permit if the space was already set up for what you want to do. But it never hurts to check, and our one-on-one team can help you check. Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to think of another one that I saw where I was like, oh, this should be simple, and it wasn't. Another one, I think this is one that businesses get a little hung up with, is washrooms. Like the design and layout of the washrooms, if it was built before a certain year, there was no accessibility requirements in that built form. So whenever there's a new tenant taking over the space, that triggers the accessibility for washrooms. It's called barrier-free design, where the washrooms are meant to be inclusive for everyone. So that's the most common example of renovation that's unexpected.
Does that for front-facing businesses, like if a customer is gonna come, or what if it's like, I'm a warehouse, I just ship product?
Yeah, it is. I think it's for all businesses. I think the barrier-free design guidelines apply for all businesses. And so there is a way to be exempted. If you can apply to the province for an exemption.
Yeah, like-
If for some reason, your business can't comply or it doesn't make sense in that case. Yeah, for sure.
Like perhaps if it's only gonna be you and a few people working there and you never would have customers in at all, and then maybe you could apply for an exemption.
Yeah. There's some other like unique historical buildings, and it's not possible in some cases, but obviously I know that most businesses would really like their space to be accessible when possible. So yeah, for the most part, it's a good way to kind of upgrade to more current standards. Okay, so we've worked through this. I'm just looking at the time, and I feel like I'm going to wrap up here, because what you would do when you contact our city team is we're going to walk you through all these steps. But I'm trying to share a few examples of why you might want to do that and how this might help with your business planning. So really, when we talk through the zoning, when we talk through the safety codes information, we're going to let you know what permits you need and help you build out that timeline. I think that it's fair to say that you may need no permits at all, and you could get your business license within a matter of weeks. Or you might need all the permits, and it could take up to 3 months to get all your permits and business licensing. If you do need any permits, you might need to work with a professional to do the design of the space. And we've got sample drawings to show you like what kind of information the city needs. We might be asking you like, where is your business in location to your neighbors? Who's beside you, that kind of thing. And then once you get your permits, you do your renovations, you get some inspections. I'll share this out as well. I just want to leave time for questions. And I also, I know that there's like a certain amount of information we can all hold in one sitting. And I get the regulatory stuff and it's always a little bit more technical. It's so boring. I love it so much, by the way. I'm not sure if the passion's coming through, but like I'm so obsessed with this. I could talk about it all day, but I'm gonna like, for your benefit, I'm gonna wrap it up.
One sec. Taking a picture of those grants.
Yes. This is another reason to reach out to the one-on-one team. And I've got some descriptions of each of these grant programs that the city has in the slide deck, but we will walk you through it and eligibility. So I'm just going to skip through. Some of our grants are for specific areas in the city. We call them business improvement areas. Think about White Avenue, downtown, Old Strathcona, or I said that one already, that's White Avenue, 124th Street. You can get matching grants up to 20,000 per building for your renovations. So we can help you with that stuff and we can help you figure out if you're eligible for the grants. Same thing with the storefront. So if you are renting a space and you want to make the front look super nice, we can help you with that. It does really improve vibrancy to have these like very beautiful storefronts on vibrant main streets. And we do have a corner store program. So this one is not just for BIAs, but any mature neighborhood around the city. So the most common example we think of these little like commercial strip malls. Does everyone have one in their neighborhood? If you live in a mature neighborhood, you've got that like, I don't know what's there. In mine, it's like a massage therapy place.
Convenience
Store. Mine, I've got the Birch Cafe.
We got an indoor playground.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, so this is the type of.
She's far in the city.
Literally. That's why I'm like daycare, bar,
Oh my God.
playground, bar.
Yeah, so these little strip malls in your neighborhood would be eligible for grants to help with the renovations and improvements for those spaces. If you're taking over like one of these tenant spaces within those strip malls. So those are great. That's a great resource as well. And this one's actually a bigger grant, up to 60,000 per building with 3 tenants. So that's good. And I can connect you with all of the program managers for these. Braden's the program manager for this one, the Corner Store grant. He's come to present to this group before. There's also a couple of new grants that our team's been doing around, keeping neighborhoods a little bit tidy, the graffiti cleanup program. There's the broken window grant for downtown businesses, I believe. Okay, so and just to wrap up, contact us early. We're going to build you out a timeline. Like, here's all the steps you'll go through with the city. Here's how long it's going to take. We'll help you figure out if your location is suitable. We'll help you figure out if your building is suitable. And we're here to help you every step of the way from that figuring out all the way to opening, getting your business license and opening your business. Okay, there's been questions throughout, but does anybody want to share their business and see what their process would look like? Or have any other questions?
Anybody online?
Okay, yeah.
So, my business idea is a fitness app,
Okay.
and currently it's a very early stage, and I'm still refining my MVP, but I'm hoping to build something. So ideally is I'll define the MVP, which will be using some sort of technology. But before that, I was thinking, maybe if I can. So the idea is I want to sell one membership so that people can purchase through me and they can access to all the fitness and wellness facilities in Edmonton.
Cool.
Because currently I'm having a trouble just getting businesses onboarding to partner with me. So I was thinking I really want to maybe do a soft launch, which will be like a more manual way. So if I can have a handful of businesses to give me like some time slot, so like I can sell that pass just to test the water a little bit.
Mhm.
But the thing is, I need a business, like, to be a legitimate business. So
She's
for
still
some-
testing her business
Yes.
model, so she's not yet registered as a business.
Yes, okay.
It's very, minimum viable product.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, this is a very good question. I'm going to say, no, you wouldn't get a business license in the testing phase. I'm going to get an official answer. We have a business license policy team. They'll give me an official answer that I can share back. But I think that, like, that's more the research phase. What I usually tell businesses is get the license when you're ready to launch.
Mhm.
Because it is like a renewal. You have to pay for it every year. So you kind of want to get it closer to when you're ready to open. Unless you're the commercial business, like I said, we're going to work through the process like months in advance so that you get your business license when you're ready to like actually open your doors and you want to have your grand, your grand reveal to the public, or at least your like welcome party or whatever. But if it's like a minor home-based business, you're still building out your business plan and you're still kind of figuring out your model, I wouldn't apply for the business license until you're ready to like fully launch.
Jerome online said, his concept would be similar to an online platform, an app or online business to help with housing and emergency housing for vulnerable populations and to connect those individuals with broader community.
Oh, okay, love it. So that would be a minor home-based business like the other two apps. It would really just need a business license from the city. You would submit that home-based business license application. It would be a yes, checkbox on the zoning approval because you're not having lots of folks coming to your house. At least I don't think so. Yeah, it would just be a minor home-based business with an annual business license fee.
Right.
For that one. That one though, there might be, I'm gonna look up some information on selling to the city. And I'm just thinking about another project that we're working on where sometimes business owners have an idea that could really help the city do their work better.
Right.
So when I'm thinking about this app that's kind of matching for that affordable housing, I'm almost wondering if there's like an innovation pilot or like some kind of test we should be doing with the city to be like, oh, would this help us with our operations? So,
Right.
if you don't mind, Cecile, would you share my contact information?
I will share your
Okay.
contact information with Jerome.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, that's a cool one. And we are working, so our business friendly team, we do the one-on-one support to help business owners get started up, but we also have some innovation supports for businesses with innovative ideas, and they might want to do a pilot with the city. So we are working out some details on that, and I feel like that might be a good one.
Is there anything health related?
Yeah, I know yours too. I'm like, oh, rec centers. I'm into a few moms groups. Are we still recording?
Yes. You want me to stop?
Yeah,
recording?
let's do the Q&A off
Okay,
the
we're
butt here.
Q&A offline.
I love this. Okay.